And we're back on Southeast Texas Weekly. I'm Kevin Steele. We're going to talk about Obamacare as it has been described by the Congressional Budget Office. Nonpartisan CBO saying Obamacare will slash the equivalent of 2.5 million work hours. That could mean hundreds of Southeast Texas jobs, could mean tens of thousands of jobs across the United States. Let's take a look at a full screen from the CBO director who had testimony to this effect. Douglas Elmendorf saying the act creates a disincentive for people to work by providing health insurance to people with very low income and then ultimately withdrawing those subsidies once they have made more money. The act creates a disincentive for work. Support your idea for why the White House is insisting that that is a good thing. Why are we, as Americans, as a part of the Affordable Care Act, looking at an actual disincentive to work, as reported by the nonpartisan CBO, and explain why the White House would say, you know what, the ACA is a good thing for having done so? Can you support the idea?
Well, it just depends what you mean by disincentive to work, because if that were the case, then we should have never done food stamps to begin with, because that could also have been a disincentive to work. After you make a certain amount of money, then they would take away your food stamps. But depending on what your view of it is, the reason for it is to help lower income families.
Once 50 million Americans are on food stamps now. Also with us, Jeff Lewis, WL Pate, Beaumont City Councilman, GOP extraordinaire. Give us a quick word on this matter of a disincentive to work.
Let me just get this over with now. Call it disincentive to work, whatever. Okay, literally the projection on this right now is that tens of thousands of jobs will be lost. It's probably going to be closer to 100,000 or so. Okay, that's a disincentive to work. When you lose your job because your employer no longer can afford to pay health insurance and they don't hire people anymore, that's a disincentive to work. So it doesn't really matter whether or not people are choosing to work or not choosing to work. There's a lot of people that want a job right now and can't get it because of this monstrosity that y'all passed.
The White House has said it's a good thing that you're at more or less an end of your career scenario and you want to retire early. Right now you can't do so because most Americans have their insurance based through their employer. Now you would be able to retire early. Now, for example, you might not have to go to work at an early age. Say you're 25. You're still covered under your parents' plan, according to the Affordable Care Act. The White House says it's a good thing. It's a matter of the way it's, the perspective on the issue. Your views, Mr. Pate.
To me, it's when you look at the Unaffordable Care Act, because it's driving more people out of the workforce. When the CBO comes out, and that's the ultimate objective agency that they use to say, hey, this is how it works. 2.5 million people will not be tied to their jobs anymore. They can actually not work, according to Nancy Pelosi. Well, how about her not being tied to her job so she can go ahead and leave too? That'd be fine with me. But the point is, the only reason any business goes into business is to make a profit. When they can't make a profit, then they start cutting costs. The biggest cost, variable cost, is labor.
But you continue to support the ACA.
Well, not fully. But I do believe that for that, the disincentive to work is not people losing their job. It's people not being incentivized to actually work. So if I'm not working and I'm getting subsidies, why would I get a job? I think that's the mentality that's going through it. I don't think everyone's going to have that same mentality. If you find a couple people, they're going to be the poster person for that. They're going to say, since these person do it, everyone does it. But it just depends, like I said, the disincentive to work.
Quick point. Yeah. Quick point. When I taught at Lamar University, if I walked in and said, I tell you what, doesn't make any difference how hard you study, you can't make an A. I'm just going to average all the grades. Right. How long do you think it would take till everybody's failing?
Jeff Lewis?
Yeah, that's very true.
There's no incentive.
Having taught, I totally agree with that idea. In fact, some of them are already failing anyway. But, the idea is, it does no good, really, to keep someone on their insurance till age 25. It sounds wonderful, but if they can't get a job by the time they turn age 26, it was of no effect. So, I'm concerned about the employment prospects. We've been talking about this for 3.5 years, and they hadn't
Yeah.
gotten better. Repeal the daggum thing, get it over with.
Quickly, we have to pivot to this matter of immigration reform. It's among the priorities of the White House. The administration has talked about it as this being the pivotal year to do this, 2014. Immigration reform seems to be dying on the vine. I ask you, W.L. Pate, are the Hispanic Americans of Southeast Texas ever going to see a bill to remedy an age-old issue, this matter of immigration reform?
I think one of the issues, the biggest issue with immigration reform, is that the House wants to break it down a piece at a time. President Obama wants to put it all together in a comprehensive. Well, as we recall, the last immigration reform during President Reagan was supposed to end any issues we'd ever have.
I thought it did.
Well, it did, except now we have 12 million people who have come here, crossed the border, and they're affecting those individuals that are American citizens. You can't go into Mexico. If you get caught actually sneaking into
Understood.
Mexico,
Yeah.
2 years
Yeah.
in jail. That's their law. Now, the president of Mexico wants us to be softer on their citizens because it takes the responsibility of the Mexican government.
You're filibustering Mr. Rosario.
Oh,
Stop
wait.
it. You stop it over there. Mr. Rosario, is it not reasonable to assume that Republicans in Congress don't trust this president now when they say border protection is first and we'll move along to the other parts of this bill later? Is it reasonable to understand how Republicans may not have a lot of faith in the border protection elements that would be the precursor to the
I do think
piecemeal
that they have a
legislation?
reason to not trust President Obama because of some things he's done in the past. That's sort of one of the big problems of immigration because President Obama's tied to it, it won't pass the House.
Yeah.
But President Obama did say that he's willing to take it piece by piece, not just comprehensive. He would prefer comprehensive, but piece by piece. Also, from an Hispanic American Southeast Texas view, we are willing to compromise on everything. We agree on the Republican principles. We think that's a good step forward, the ones that they gave. We're willing to work with those. What we want is we want to stop separating the families. We want to, the children who are here, who are U.S. citizens, we want them to not have their parents taken away from them. And we also want, church members who are in the same situation. As a Christian, I cannot turn them away, say you need to go away.
Yeah,
if they have
understood.
a problem or difficulty, it is my Christian duty to help them.
Well put, guys. As always, Ross Ward with the Liberty County GOP and Ben Strusen for 36th Congressional District running for Congress. We'll be back with those folks right after this break.